ZZZ's combat at face value looks simple to play, and it partially is, the developers themselves said so, but there's a lot of separate systems that you should definitely know about, so you know how to tackle the rest of the game. So here are the important basics, hidden systems, and some bonus tips towards the end you need to know about Zenless Zone Zero's combat. Let's start from scratch. ZZZ is a ground-based tag team combat system with no dedicated jump button and no dedicated healers. As of launch, every agent has a basic attack, dodge, special, and ultimate.
Neutralize.
Basic attacks are, well, just normal basic attacks. Doing basic attacks gives you energy and can also be held down on most characters to do a heavy charged attack. The dodge, well, dodges attacks. Keep in mind that this does have a cooldown after 2 quick dodges, so try not to mash it too much. If you dodge an enemy attack, then basic attack, you'll trigger a powerful counterattack. Also, holding down dodge while moving will have you dash around the arena, and attacking while dashing makes a dash attack. Special is every agent's unique ability, ranging from a simple powerful attack to Ben Bigger's super armor or Nicole's crowd control. Normal special is when the icon is gray, and EX special is when the icon is purple, usable from when you have enough energy. These EX versions are much more powerful and often stagger enemies, but are only available when you have a full bar or 2 of energy. You get these bars of energy by doing basic attacks and other counterattacks during combat.
Straight to the Earth's core!
Ultimates are extremely powerful attacks that can turn the tide of battle, but can take a while to get. Ultimates are measured by decibels, the counter on the left. Doing a variety of offensive and defensive maneuvers gets a number of points which caps out at 3000, which then allows you to use one ultimate. Remember though that this is a shared resource and only allows one agent to use it, so choose wisely. Finally, as a tag-based fighter, you can switch in your other 2 teammates at any time with L1 or R1, whatever your control scheme is, for left and right tags. These tag-ins can also be perfectly timed against attacks for perfect assists, but each time uses assist points, so this is not something you can spam forever. These points can then be recovered back through ultimates and chain attacks, which we'll cover in a second. Each character falls into 2 categories of these perfect assists, either defensive assists or evasive assists. Defensive parries their attack, often interrupts their attack, and heavily fills the daze bar. Evasive assist slows down time and lets you counterattack with whatever you'd like. Most melee characters have a defensive assist, while most ranged characters have evasive assists. Each is useful in different situations. Also, if you ever get hit, you also have the option to tag in your friend and get back into the fray quickly. On the main HUD, you have your hit points, energy bar, which is filled by attacking, and your teammates, but you also have crucial information about the enemy. The HP bar obviously shows their health, but also the daze bar, which builds up from left to right. When maxed out, the enemy will be stunned, and you'll have a window to wail on your opponent with an increased damage multiplier, shown here. Be quick though, because a timer counts down until the enemy recovers and gets back up to fight again. While the enemy is dazed, you can perform one special chain attack by bringing in multiple characters to wail on your enemy. You'll know this is ready to rip when the daze percentage is flashing. If it's grayed out, you can't do this chain attack. A couple important notes is how many chains you can do depends on the threat level of the enemy. If it's just a normal mob, a mini boss, or a major boss, this will change how many chains you can do. And triggering chain attacks are really easy to do. Simply use the end of normal basic combos, doing charged heavy attacks on some characters, tapping or holding specials or EX specials, ultimates, or counterattacks. It's basically hard not to do.
Awaiting orders.
One last note are anomalies, which not only deal a type of damage but also build up that element as you hit them more and more until it caps out and induces a special effect. This anomaly meter is shown at the right of the enemy's HP bar, filling in a clockwise fashion. Once fully maxed out, each anomaly has special effects. Fire causes the burn effect and does constant damage and is effective against humanoid enemies. Ice freezes your opponent, increases crit damage against them, and does secondary damage when shattered. Shock damage will cause initial interruption and constant damage and is effective against robotic enemies. The Ether anomaly will cause corruption and will do follow-up damage when you hit them further, and is most effective against ethereal type enemies. And finally, there's pure physical characters who can trigger the Assault anomaly, which does an immediate chunk of additional physical damage and reduces the target's daze resistance. Finally, there's a special effect with anomalies called Disorder, triggered by attacking with another anomaly type after a different one has already been triggered. This does an additional chunk of bonus free damage. Once you get in a couple fights, the combat loop becomes pretty second nature. But that's not where this ends, because there are other major components to combat in ZZZ: Bangboos, agent stats, and team building. Bangboos are a quick little addition to combat. These little guys help you out in 3 ways. 1, they have an active skill they do periodically on their own, they also give a passive buff if you meet their requirements, and they give you a free addition in chain attacks during combat. We won't go over every agent's skills and equipment here. Instead, we're going to cover the universal base stats and what they mean, so you'll be more informed on what to level and equip for the rest of your agent's kit. Starting from the top, the rating for every character is either S-Class or A-Class, then what faction they're connected to is listed, which can be really important to gameplay. If multiple characters of the same faction are on the same team, not only are there special stat bonuses for them, but even special team attacks that are not possible with anyone else. So keep this in mind while team building. Then you have their base level and then their attribute or element type. This is obviously the specific attribute anomaly that they'll build up with their attacks. Then finally you have their specialties, another important factor to consider. There are 5 classes in all. Stun agents generally have less attack but specialize in doing high daze damage and stun your opponents more quickly. Anomaly agents are great at quickly applying lots of anomaly. Attack agents are focused on pure offense and damage with less daze damage. Defense agents are great at blocking attacks and making shields. And support agents are best at buffing your team and debuffing opponents. Then there's a not as important subclass consisting of strike, pierce, or slash agents. Strike agents best against robotic enemies, slash agents best against ethereal enemies, and pierce agents best against humanoid enemies. This is not something you should completely build around though. Then you have your hit points, base attack, and defense stat. Pretty self-explanatory. And impact. Impact influences how fast you accumulate daze damage on the enemy. Crit rate and crit damage are gacha game standards of how often you crit and how hard that crit hits for. Usually you want to aim for the standard 1:2 ratio. Anomaly mastery is how quickly you build up the anomaly gauge during battle, and anomaly proficiency improves the damage done by the attribute anomaly. Penetration ratio ignores a percentage of the target's defense, and penetration is a flat amount of defense ignored when attacking the enemy. All agents slowly recover energy for EX specials during battle, and energy regen influences that flat amount of energy gained per second. Energy generation rate improves the amount of energy gained overall from hitting enemies and passively over time. Energy limit is the cap of that energy that you gain, different for each agent. And finally, there are damage percentage bonuses that you can gain to improve that specific attribute anomaly's damage. Remember that the highlighted stat is the stat that the character is strongest with and is recommended to focus on while building them. Okay, now that you have an overall understanding of what the stats are, let's quickly go over what goes into building a good team. There are several things to consider when building a solid team: what anomaly they are, what faction they are, their specialty type, and what other supportive capabilities they bring. As of the game's launch, the most basic template team comp is the Daze agent to punch through their armor, an attack agent to do heavy damage while they're stunned, and a support agent to help buff and debuff for your team. But you'll also want to think about how anomalies can be combined with this template, such as mono-anomaly teams, pushing the anomaly of one type as much as possible, or a disorder team, which tries to apply 2 elements as much as possible to trigger disorder. Triggering anomalies can help with Daze too, so both systems feed into each other. As a final bonus, here's a couple quick useful tips while in combat. If you press dodge attack, switch attack right before an enemy attack hits you, you can do both your normal counter and your switched character's perfect assist at the same time, accumulating not only tons of daze damage, but also anomaly buildup or even multiple buildups, leading to heavy hitting disorders. This is usually best with longer animation counterattacks such as Ellen's dodge counter. And on that same note, take advantage of other long animations, such as Lycaon's charged EX special, which does a flurry of kick attacks that you don't have to stick around for. You can switch off to somebody else in the meantime to double up your attacks. Besides that, remember to read through your agent's kit, level them up with their skills, and equip them with strong W engines and cores to make them the strongest they can be. Hopefully this guide helped you get a base understanding of Zenless Zone Zero's combat, and for everything else gaming, keep it here on GameSpot.